The attachment specialist here. Glad to see you again. Welcome on this bright and sunny Tuesday afternoon. Glad to talk with you. Today is live Q&A for avoidant men and avoidant women. I want to be everybody avoidant here today. If you have questions about avoidant attachment style in men or in women, today is the day for that. So, what questions do you have for me about that? I will be answering questions about avoidant attachment in men and women. So, stick to those topics and we'll be okay. I do want to remind everybody that my Love for Life sale is going to conclude very soon. We've only got about 3 days left. Make sure you check adamlanesmith.com to be able to get access to that. Make sure you don't miss that sale. If you've been wanting to do coaching, you want to work on courses and self-paced work, or you're wanting to jump into the Attachment Breakthrough Intensive, make sure you check out the Love for Life sale. It's linked in my profile everywhere. It's also on adamlanesmith.com. You can get access very quickly and make sure that you are securing your savings and your relationship. Today, what questions do you have about avoidant attachment style? Drop them in chat. I'm paying attention. I'm here to help. I'm here to guide. Let me know. I will answer questions only that relate to avoidant attachment style, however, so make sure that you're dropping those questions about that topic in particular. Mercurian Girl, good to see you in here. I love that name, Mercurian. We don't hear about the humors too much anymore, do we? It's a little bit of an outdated concept, but it's fun because it still kind of fits for personality types, and I get that. What do you got for me today, question-wise, for avoidant attachment style? I know that a lot of people, we built this channel quite a bit working with people who have avoidant attachment partners, usually, but a lot of people with avoidant attachment style have actually come to find a home here, if I may call it that. This community we try very hard to embrace people of every attachment approach and style and subtype and pattern and everything. I don't want to demonize anybody here, ever. That is not what we do. It simply is not what we do here. There's enough people out there making other people out to be bad people when most people are really just trying to get along in this world. So there's certainly bad actors that we need to be wary of, but most people are just trying to get along and try not to get hurt. Thus is the case with ethical avoidant people in particular. Black bile attachment style. There we go. Thank you. I recently heard my husband and I are both quite disorganized. I hear you, Brooke. A lot of my coaching clients come into me, both disorganized types. When it's loud disorganized with loud disorganized, I mean, that is fire and more fire. But I have plenty of clients who come in. One is quiet disorganized, the other loud disorganized. I see that too. Taking all avoidant attachment questions in here today. If they're not avoidant attachment style, I won't answer. I'm just telling you that. But if they are avoidant, we'll do it. As an avoidant who's gone through 3 months of therapy, self-work after a breakup, is it wise? A lot of questions. Is it wise for me to go back to my ex with real changes to see if we can make it work? We were together 2 years. That's a good question, honestly. I tell people this. If your ex had a lot of dysregulation issues, and they are managing their dysregulation better now than perhaps. That really is the distinguishing factor for me when someone says, Adam, should I try again with my ex? Are you both explicitly regulating your nervous systems better so you're not making your nervous system their problem? We can certainly co-regulate together at a certain level, but it needs to be self-regulation first to then engage in good faith and with peace. That's the only way. Then, are we utilizing communication skills differently? Are we willing to, right? Attachment is both nervous system and communication, right? Nervous system and skills to generate experiences that change us. That's the process. Are you and your ex both regulating differently and communicating differently? And if not, you might get the same outcome. That's my thing there. Great question, though. I love that. Selwyn. Ava Menza. How do you move on from a relationship with an avoidant boyfriend if they come back? I repeated the cycle with him 3 times. Remember that avoidantly attached people, by definition, their oxytocin receptors are largely dormant and or blocked by cortisol since childhood. So not only do they not do the things that would generate oxytocin, but if they do, they stress during and block the receptor sites, and the receptors are dormant and usually shift away from the molecule. So they don't even accept oxytocin, even if they get a little bit, usually. Some are still there, but most will shift away. The research shows this. So remember that when they engage with you, it's a dopamine driven relationship instead. This does not mean all of them are trying to exploit you, but what they get is dopamine. So when they give to you, they think they're giving you dopamine. If you've been with them 3 times over and over and over and over, that usually means what they've actually given you is oxytocin, which creates an addiction cycle in you that they usually won't understand. So they don't understand why you spike. They don't understand why you crash. They don't understand why you're resentful. To them, it's a cortisol and dopamine driven experience, but to you, it's a richer oxytocin one. However, we know that anxiously attached people are about 30 to 40% more sensitive to oxytocin than anyone else, because oxytocin becomes your measurement of safety, which is a dysregulation in self seeking external regulation to compensate. Different problem. So both sides have their own issues. If we are stuck on an X, sometimes we call it the phantom X. If we're stuck on an X, what we're actually doing is we are addicted to the oxytocin, and our brain says, you are my only available source. I will do anything to get this feeling again, even go through this with you again. It's not usually the person we're fixated on. It's the biochemical release that they trigger in us. So what I tell people, learn to regulate first. Nervous system self-regulate, and then diversify that oxytocin portfolio, family and friends, other people, so your system is no longer addicted. And then you'll have clear vision to see if this person's a right match for you. You won't be addicted to them and frankly desperate. That's the process. I don't mean that as a criticism, by the way. Mercurian girl, where does it stem from in childhood relationship with parents? I have extensive videos on disorganized attachment style. I highly recommend you check them out. Just search Adam Lane Smith disorganized. There's a lot of them here on this channel alone. I've produced a lot. That'll give you a 40-minute overview of exactly where those come from. So they go, Heaven, I think I missed your question. Thank you for being patient. How do you ease someone through the fear of vulnerability? Helping them understand why it's an actual benefit to them. What is vulnerability going to do for them? What does it release for them? Most avoidant people, they have always wanted a second mode to click into, from war operator mode into peace mode, but they've never been able to cross that line, and they don't ever feel at home with somebody as a result. Helping them understand that vulnerability is not the goal. Safety, number one, to create vulnerability, to generate the feeling of peace and home and belonging. That's actually the process. I was just leading this inside a group teaching that I'm doing right now in a group cohort. And I was teaching them about specifically safety has to come first, perceived safety to sharing vulnerably, specifically to generate those feelings of belonging and connection. That is the oxytocin release they're seeking. Looking for avoidant questions. Loud, disorganized. My partner's dismissive. We've been together 7 years, on and off. Came to a place we want to heal. Can it work? There was infidelity. If he wants to change specifically to build a deeper, intimate connection and actually experience home and belonging and rest and peace with you, that is the only time it can work. And it has to be self-driven internally, where he is seeking a change. Yes, under those circumstances, absolutely this can work if there's willingness on both sides. But that is the key piece, is he has to want that peace with you. I guide people through that all the time. Me and my coaches, not a problem if that's what's wanted, but he has to actually want it. My question is how to communicate with avoidance in long distance relationships when physical approach is not possible, how to respond. Avoidant people in long distance relationships are very tricky because they selected a long distance relationship so they wouldn't have any closeness at all. They are some of the most difficult, tricky people. Not bad, I mean. I don't mean difficult, tricky like evil. I mean difficult because they are so avoidant. They don't even want physical proximity. They want to be able to push you off like a button. So first comes actually trying to build a human interaction with them, where you are allowed to be inconvenient and see the real them, which is very difficult long distance. Keep that in mind. It's very, very tough. Tatiana, thinking back to my teenager, I think of myself as secure, but I became avoidant after the divorce. Is that possible? I'm thinking my ex-husband was an avoidant. Well, I mean, there's certainly pain that can create tendencies where we avoid further pain. But if that generated complete avoidant tendency, that's a little bit different. Usually we don't shift an attachment style after a divorce with an avoidant person. However, we can have pain and aversion to romantic experiences. It's also possible you had some avoidant tendencies, or you were quiet, disorganized. Check for that before the relationship, and your avoidant partner brought out your most anxious side maybe, and now you becoming avoidant. That's also possible. usually. Cosmic, can you help us understand the difference between fearful, avoidant, and dismissive? Yes. That is a specific classification brought about after John Bowlby created his styles. I go back to Bowlby's styles. Avoidant, anxious, and then disorganized, meaning cannot be neatly organized into purely anxious or purely avoidant. Disorganized means blend of both, essentially. Now, fearful avoidant, in my parlance, is what we call loud disorganized. It's a blend of anxious and avoidant with loud external experiences and loud external emotions. Dismissive avoidant is what we would call avoidant, and they break down into ethical avoidant or manipulative avoidant. That's the parlance here. Very, very different. Okay. But fearful avoidant is the blend of both. Keep in mind. My husband and I are both quiet, disorganized. I've seen a few of those. I'm the one who starts conflict resolution 9 out of 10. I ask why he doesn't come to me when he knows there's an issue. Thoughts? Well, I'm curious what he said when you asked why he doesn't come to you when he knows there's an issue. But I've seen in most quiet, disorganized couples I've seen, the woman actually usually does lead the charge, and the man is usually so deer in the headlights, frozen, but she perceives it as rejection and refusal. Understanding the frozen response is very crucial. Very important. Cosmic Rit, what's the odds of being both loud, disorganized, and covert narcissist? Totally different. Totally different. But I'm taking avoidant questions here today, but those are totally different. Why do avoidants lie so much? Me pulley. Not all avoidants lie. Ethical avoidance often won't. Manipulative avoidance often will lie more, but ethical avoidance may do what they call white lies or lies of omission. It's possible. So it depends what you're classifying. Many times it's the flow of information itself generates a feeling of unsafety, so they try to control information. Oftentimes they're trying to protect both of you and them, from the information, which rejects our human dignity, so it's not acceptable. But that's one reason that many of them are doing that. How do I communicate important of accountability? How do I communicate how important accountability is to my DA wife? Well, it depends. Is she ethical avoidant or manipulative avoidant? Ethical avoidant wife should fully understand the importance of accountability. A manipulative avoidant wife is likely to struggle because the concept there is different. An ethical avoidant person says other people are not bad. They simply get dysregulated and make bad decisions, and that can damage and harm me. So to keep us safe, I will keep a comfortable wall between us where neither of us can hurt each other. And down the spectrum is more and more distrust, hurt, and contempt. To the other side, the purest version of manipulative avoidance says other people will hurt me if they get a chance. Therefore, I can justify anything and everything I feel compelled to do because that keeps me safe. Now, they usually stay within boundaries and try to maintain a relationship with you and actually relate to you as a human. They spark into those moments of manipulation when their nervous system goes up, but otherwise they try to be calm and loving. Generally, which differentiates it from the narcissistic personality disorder or antisocial personality disorder off the end of the chart, which is I don't have lucid moments and I don't calm down. I am always active in this stress mode and always focused on control, which is different. That's a pervasive personality takeover. So that's the spectrum of avoidant that we're looking at right there, if that makes sense. So really, where does she fall on that spectrum for accountability? And then making it very clear, especially with a capacity-based conversation, why the capacity is absolutely crucial. Mighty One, I can't get clarity from my avoidant despite using better communication. You're going to have to sit down with them and actually have an actual correct boundary about, for me to have a relationship with you, which I want to, here is what I will need from you to be able to perform on my side. It's very much almost like a business conversation of I can't run our business together if you don't communicate, so I need more clarity. Can we do this? It's a capacity-based negotiation. Very important. Me and my coaches, we teach the negotiation-driven relationship framework, NDR. And in that explains the capacity and exactly how to work together. And then it's on the other person if they choose to work with you or not, because they also have a choice. Going through looking for avoidant questions in particular, questions on avoidant people. Avoidant questions only here today. Avoidant questions only. No Man's Land. I met an amazing lady. We had it on the 3-date on a V-Day. Super romantic. Thank you, by the way, for the donation with the super chat. Very, very much appreciate it. Talked to Cuddle the whole night, bought her flowers. Where to go from here? No Man's Land. I would check my 3-date method. So I just released a video a couple days ago called the 3-date method, wherein I talk you through the exact structure of when to go exclusive. By the way, it's on date 3, not date 5, date 3, but it shows you in that video exactly what to do. Heavily recommend you check out my 3-date method to show you exactly how to start managing that, because that's the process that will that should help you win. I just got a wedding invitation from somebody I taught my 3-date method to, applied it, went through one, not a good fit, not a good fit, not a good fit, perfect fit. Got engaged, getting married very soon. So I just got a wedding picture from another one who did the 3-date method, by the way. So I know it works. All right, looking for avoidant questions. Avoidant questions. Tevin, questions. How can I have my avoidant partner open again from my anxiety? Everything was very good. Then I had an almost cloak of anxiety came out of nowhere, and she's fearful avoidant. Fearful avoidant is actually loud disorganized, which is not purely avoidant, but has avoidant tendencies, and with you probably is avoidant more because of you're anxious. Remember that the number one thing we have to do if we have anxious attachment style in a relationship is regulate our own nervous system. This removes any feeling of liability that the other person has, where they see you as a liability. They don't see you as a project they have to work on. They don't see you as a problem to overcome or manage. They see you as a person who is calm and regulated that they can begin trusting and working with. So self-regulation is absolutely key. And then showing them that regulation, not performing it, but showing them your regulation in conversation is very key so they can see the difference. That's also very, very crucial. Mercurial, I'm avoidant with the avoidance. There you go. No Man's Land, I did answer your super chat. Do ethical avoidant withhold sex? Vanessa, withhold sex as punishment? Of ethical avoidant people don't usually say, I'm doing this to punish you. That's more of a manipulative avoidant using pain for behavior modification. That's the piece right there. That's the component. With that, however, I will say this. Ethical avoidant people often have a sex drive drop at 7 to 12 months, and especially after the first year, because the novelty dopamine has worn off completely, and that's the problem. It's the novelty dopamine usually that dies and is not, they don't have a flow of oxytocin that goes through, and that's the challenge. Avoidant. Susan, my avoidant husband divorced me, married another woman. I miss him and love him very much. Any chance he could ever come back? Well, if he's married to another woman, let me ask you, what is it that's making you want him to come back if he's divorced you and fully remarried? Generally, what that tells me is that it's good to miss your husband. I mean, your ex-husband's good. I understand. I really do. But let me ask you, if he's fully remarried, what is it that's driving you to fixate on him coming back? That's going to be a big question mark for me right there. Where are you at with building life purpose and enjoyment for you? Where is your life? Are you waiting for him to come back? If he does come back, do you think he'd be healthy, or do you think you guys would get back together and then he would leave again? That's the process. Really depends on where he's at. Looking for questions. Alva Menza, will avoidance only change when they release themselves? Yes. How do you know if an avoidant will actually follow through and put in the work? They have to be miserable in their life and not getting what they want and say nothing is working and I'm trying and I'm lonely and don't like it and I wish things were better. And then they start learning about brain science and hormones and neurology, which I teach here on this channel. But they have to actually reach a place where they want something more and they actually believe it's possible for there to be something more. Otherwise, they will assume you are scamming them and trying to sell them something when you try to offer them love, connection, hope, and belonging. That's very important. NM, my DA in September came back October with romantic gestures, love affirmations, and after 3 months, distancing again. Yeah, that's the cuffing season going in and out. Is it time to end this from one day to the next? I would sit down and say, this is what I'm wanting. Are you? And if you are, great, let's take steps toward it. And if you're not, that's fine. I just need to know so that we can both move on effectively. That's the piece right there. Rusty Heathen. That is the first thing I've seen from you here, but it looks like a part 2, and I'm missing something. But I stopped contact after the avoidant broke up with me. I actually butt dialed. I hung up immediately. Now she's contacting me through text. Do I answer? My question for you is, what is your long-term goal? Instead of short-term focus on feelings, which most people do, not a criticism, but instead of short-term, do I answer? I would instead say, what is my long-term goal? right? They're texting you back and having a conversation. Okay, they're trying. Does this person fit into your life? Most anxious people are waiting for an avoidant person to find them and then latch onto them and then wrap your life around that avoidant person and have no larger life structure, which is exactly what makes anxious or avoidantly attached people terrified to connect with an anxious person, because they're afraid your life will wrap around them completely and now they can't move or leave or breathe or go out for a day with their friends because your life entirely is fixated on them. That's the fear. So what is your larger structure, and does that avoidant person fit into it? And if so, what would they have to change? Looking for avoidant attachment questions in particular. My avoidant is, I know how many times, looking for the questions. Thank you, S Star Consulting, for joining and supporting the channel. I appreciate you very much. Have a men's, can we rewatch this later? All these live streams are recorded. You have to go into the lives tab. It's a specific tab on the channel, but there's probably hundreds of them in there by now. Tread, 18 months after zero reason discard by my severely dismissive avoidant who replaced me prior to discard. What's wrong with me? I'm still waiting for a return. Probably you are oxytocin addicted to that partner. You probably don't know how to generate oxytocin in other relationships. That's most people in this process. You don't know how to generate oxytocin with family, friends, or a new partner. So you're waiting like a flower, waiting for a bee to come back and pollinate. That's usually most anxiously attached people. It's an underdeveloped prefrontal cortex and in the area of self-regulation and self-focus, and waiting for somebody extrinsic outside of self to come in and regulate you for you. So you're waiting for that person to cycle back or someone else to cycle in to love bomb you. As much as anxiously attached people complain about love bombing, they also kind of demand it and require it. So building oxytocin with the people around you is crucial, which means first also regulating your nervous system. Happy thoughts. Hi, first time here. Is part of being avoidant always having to have control or controlling information? Quite often, yes. They grew up in a structure where any information that was loose and out there, they could just be blindsided and emotionally attacked for it. So even ethical avoidant people are obsessed with controlling the flow of information. That does not always mean lying. It does not always mean manipulating, but shutting down who knows what so that leaks and damage can't happen. That is very, very common for avoidantly attached people. That's why you ask them a question, they go like this. As they start thinking about like all the ways you could betray them with the information that you've asked for. It's their brain running rampant before they can even answer your question. That's why they go, as they're like thinking of an answer, when you say, are you hungry? And they're like trying to think of the ways you could betray them if they say yes or no. Looking for questions that I can answer about avoidant attachment style. Does feminism cause avoidant attachment? No. But could it contribute to it? Yes. Looking for avoidant attachment. Avoidant attachment. Can you help me understand the difference between ethical and the other one you said for my DA wife? Yes, anonymous hippopotamus. Ethical. So avoidant attachment style exists on a spectrum. There is pure ethical avoidant, which is driven by morals and ethics. They want to do what's right. They don't have contempt for other people. They don't hate other people, and they don't think other people are bad or evil. They think other people are dysregulated and something is off. So they don't believe anyone will ever really be fair to them during dysregulation. They're afraid that things will happen wrong at the worst possible moments. So they simply build a wall so they don't hurt others and others don't hurt them. It's live and let live. They tend to be more nervous than anything. They have anxiety, they have stress, high stress, but they're usually very self-driven and focused, and they always try to tell the truth. That means they are the ones that will usually give you the harsh truths. It doesn't mean that they are better in relationships. It just means that they are not going to try to manipulate and hurt you in various ways. They're going to try to be ethical, even if it's painful for both of you. Down the other end of the spectrum, as more and more damage tends to accrue in childhood with anger, resentment, hurt, distrust, and then contempt toward other human beings, you have the purest version on the other side of manipulative avoidant, which says other people are bad. There is something wrong with people. They actively try to hurt me when they get a chance. I will still try to be better than them. But if I have to, if I get backed into a corner, I can justify hurtful behaviors like stonewalling, gaslighting, manipulating, lying, cheating, and all of those things when I'm stressed in particular. And then when I'm not, I try to be good and kind and actually help people because I don't want to be that, but I can justify it because they would do worse to me if they got the chance. And that's manipulative avoidant over here. Off the end of the spectrum is where it takes over completely personality disorders. But this is the spectrum of avoidant attachment style. That's why we don't just call it dismissive avoidant. We go from ethical avoidant to manipulative avoidant on the whole spectrum. Someone can be a pure version of that, or they can be a partial version of that, but that's the case. Looking for questions. Does a feminist mother cause avoidant attachment in male children? That can sometimes happen that way. It's also excessively anxious, traumatized mothers. It is very distant, cold, reserved mothers who are in traditional settings and things like this, but are very distant, cold, and aloof. It's anything where the child learns either that there is no love or connection to be found, and so they pull back, or wherein they learn that other people's emotions will overwhelm them and make them feel unsafe. So they pull back so no one can make them be responsible for their emotions and coerce them into soothing. So both of those tend to generate more avoidant attachment style. Crystal, DA dumped me. I am AA 5-day 50. Can't imagine him staying away. The connection we got as kids. Got back together 1.5 years, talk about marriage, slowly pulled away, blocked me. Will he return? That's possible. It sounds like you're right in the middle of some very intense, probably dysregulation. That sounds like oxytocin addiction. Not criticizing, just that's what it is usually. Learning to fully, completely self-regulate would be absolutely crucial for your own sake of mind. And then if he does come back, you're going to have to demonstrate deeper levels of regulation than ever before so that you can actually talk to him as an equal straight across and start trying to build a more connective relationship instead of one that's based on emotions. It's very common. Andy, what is your opinion about no contact after avoidance deactivation? How to tell the difference between breadcrumbs and trying with caution? Yeah, the whole no contact thing, I hate it, to be honest with you. I think it's absolute garbage unless you're wanting to sever a relationship. I am not one that teaches no contact. What it is trying to break an oxytocin addiction that doesn't break through no contact. That's not really how that works. And all it does is send a message to the other person that you don't want them anymore. So it severs the relationship even accidentally for people trying to use it. I am not a fan of no contact. Now, that said, I think people need to be investing in their own self-regulation. We should not be having relationships if we are not self-regulated. That doesn't mean perfect. It means the ability to manage your own nervous system effectively in a relationship as an adult. We all need that. Ethical, avoidant, manipulative, avoidant, anxious, nurturing anxious, toxic anxious, loud disorganized, quiet disorganized, secure, raised secure, remade secure. All of us need to be managing our nervous systems. Absolute non-negotiable for having a relationship. Otherwise, we're not being responsible. We're dodging accountability and making our feelings someone else's problem. So with that in mind, I don't think that no contact works very well, to be honest with you. I don't hear very many good stories about it. It's usually just hurtful and damaging and confusing for everyone involved. But what we need to do is regulate nervous system and then absolutely diversify our oxytocin portfolio so we're not addicted and obsessed with that person. That's usually the problem. So looking for avoidant. Looking for avoidant questions. Marcel, my ex has reached out again after a period of no contact. How should I behave to find out whether you could consider trying a relationship again, even if it's worth it? We live in different countries. It's going to be very, very hard, number one. But honestly, practicing secure attachment by being very direct. I would like to understand what you've done different since our relationship. What's your communication and how has that changed? What's your self-regulation and how has that changed? What's your approach to relationships and how has that changed? These need to be very direct, blunt, exact conversations. Lady of Spa, exclusivity on third date seems soon. I hear that. And I respect the view. I will say that is how securely attached people do it. Specifically because, look, when you have a good thing, why are you waiting for what, 10, 20, 30 dates? Exclusivity is not engagement or marriage. Exclusivity is this seems good, let's invest in instead of diversifying and screwing it up. Remember that not exclusivity means any of you can be having open sex with groups of other human beings, right? We don't know. So if we're going to try to actually make something work, it makes sense to protect our bonding hormones and our neurotransmitters and our nervous systems to actually see if this is workable. Now, if you are not doing the dating practice that actually shows you compatibility in the first 3 dates and they're just fun dates playing top golf, yes, that would probably feel too soon. But, and I don't mean that as a slap, I mean legitimately a lot of people do that. Having actual correct compatibility-based dates is crucial for that process. Courtney, a year in being completely shut out from my husband, only aware of these attachment styles the last 4 months. In the last 6 months, he's completely shut down altogether, wants to move to the basement for privacy. He's lived in the garage the whole year. He's cut out all 4 kids myself, is completely polite and good to everyone outside of home. Absolutely will not even acknowledge anyone here. At all angry. Is this normal? For shutting out children in the home, that is not normal. That sounds like someone is spiraling downward. Cool that he's being polite, but cutting out children, are they his biological children? I guess I should ask that in this day and age. I need to ask that. If they're his biological children, absolutely not normal. Something is very deeply wrong, is what it sounds like to me. What is happening in his life? What is changing in his life? How long have you been together? What happened preceding that shutdown period? What was your conversation like and your relationship like? What has been going on? What is he doing? What content is he consuming? What's his mental state been like? There's a lot of questions there. How does Cosmic Rit, avoidant question, 20-year great marriage, ghosted, came back. That does not sound like a great marriage then. Ghosted, came back to therapy, can't handle accountability, getting worse. Doesn't sound like a great marriage then. What's the best boundary for me to heal? We share a home and kid. Tools failing. That sounds like maybe you're quiet, disorganized on your side, and you didn't recognize the deep problems in the marriage for a long time. That does not sound like a great marriage. It sounds like they were hiding something inside. And when I hear that, usually what that tells me is that there was very excessively low emotional intimacy, but the structure of it worked as a business. That's more of a roommate marriage structure where one person just assumes things are okay. I've worked on a number of those. That tells me that on your side, maybe quiet, disorganized, right? Or something like that, I would guess. I've heard that again and again, which is why I'm pattern flagging that for you. The best boundary is what caused us to have this disruption for so long. You don't have a great marriage for 20 years and then ghost and then have no accountability and get worse. That's not really how that works. So what is the person doing, and how are they changing, and how are they growing? And I mean, actually internally and externally with other relationships also growing and changing. How do I gently have my quiet, disorganized husband watch this content? I've tried. He has minimal interest, married 11 years. Most women invite a man into attachment by telling him how awful the relationship is and how miserable it is and how this video is going to fix him, or some variation thereof, instead of explaining that this is going to give us so much peace and sex and passion and joy, and that if we did this, it would just change everything, and we're so excited to share it. That's generally what I have learned, is women invite men into attachment the way you would invite someone to go get a root canal or something like this, right? That's usually what I have seen. Can you offer him the joy and benefits he will experience? That's what I would say. I'm going to take one more question. Patricia, I don't know if this fits here. What if my kids are avoidant? I'm very cuddly and open. They are the contrary. One has ADHS. Any tips? Well, if they're avoidant, that's one thing. If there's other pieces, that's something else. It depends how old they are. But frankly, I'm a big fan. I got 5 kids myself. Number 6 is coming pretty quick. In about 3 months? Whew, there we go. I'm a big fan of talking to children and asking them, do you want this? Do you want more of this? How can we do more of this? What would make you want more of this? How would you enjoy this? Talking with them and engaging with them and building more of a collaborative relationship rather than guessing around and trying to figure out what to do and how to do it. Speaking to this models healthy collaborative relationships for them so they can engage with you in a very different way and they feel embraced, they feel respected, and they feel cared for. So that can be immensely helpful. I would definitely take that practice and give it a shot. Depending how old they are, use age-appropriate language. All right, everybody, great talking to you. I will see you again tomorrow. I've got another live stream, and I'm doing a Facebook live stream tomorrow specifically as well, just for Facebook alone. I'll probably do both tomorrow. We'll see, and I'll talk to you guys there. Take care of yourselves.